Because of the following special broadcast, The Lucy Show and The Andy Griffith Show will not be presented this evening.
Word Balloon is brought to you by the League of Word Balloon Listeners.
Kingdom Come is 4 separate issues, 48 pages apiece. It was an all-immersive kind of lifestyle for me.
It blew people away. I mean, this was the most sought-after book there was.
This was something very new, very different.
No one had seen anything like that at that scale before.
It was amazing.
I never thought from anything that people would still be talking about this book 25 years later.
Jeremy Adams, welcome back to Word Balloon. Great to talk to you, man. And excited to have a new get together.
Yeah, seriously. No, this is great. This is great. Right at the beginning of the mothership, San Diego coming in a couple days, and then Terrific Con, which I'm super excited about, which I've heard every time I've asked somebody, what's your favorite convention? They, without a doubt, say Terrific Con. Every time.
Nothing has made me happier than recommending it to people. And I was so glad. Terry Johnson last year, it was his first time, and he's like, lived up to what you told me, man. I'm like, yeah.
Listen, we talked about it. Like the fact that Lee Majors and Lindsay Wagner are going to be there is like, holy cow, that's huge.
I'll warn you. As I understand it, Mr. Majors is sadly in a wheelchair. I'm assuming just because of the walking.
Yeah. I'm sure, you know what I mean? But it's more of just, I'm glad that they're doing these things, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And Lindsay's doing great. Although, and again, I feel terrible. Well, actually, shame on me. It's not my news to tell. But I'm looking forward to seeing her. It's going to be great. So many other great people are terrific on both comic creators and celebrities that are.
There's so many comic creators that like I've never met that I feel intimidated about, you know? Like I'm like, okay, just chill out, man. Don't freak out. Like Anna Nocente, who did all the Daredevils that I mean, I grew up on those Daredevils post Frank Miller, and I read those constantly. And Longshot, like Longshot was a weirdly, it always looked like Richard Dean Anderson from MacGyver, you know? And I love Longshot as a character, but she's going to be there. And obviously Chris Claremont and people that had a huge impact on me growing up.
Sure. Simonsons and Chaikin and Johnny Ramita Jr., of course, and Ralph Macchio, all three of them are going to do.
Yeah.
Are we doing a panel, Chair?
I haven't heard of one, but that doesn't mean we can't. But even Chaikin, what's funny is if we had the chat, Tim would probably chime in because we did a signing when we did Flashpoint Beyond with Jeff Johns. It was Jeff, me, and Tim and Mark Guggenheim and Chaikin. Did he tell you this about the sing-along that burst out? Like Tim and Howard started singing some show tune, and it was really, really funny.
Howard cracks me up with the show tunes, absolutely. And I'm right there with them, so no, I get it. Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. And we'll talk about what you're doing at San Diego in a minute. But my God, man, we got a lot of comic book ground to cover as far as what you're writing.
Yeah, Yeah.
Or, you know, and is there another? And of course, Aquaman, and
Yep.
then Flash Gordon, just to give
Yep.
us the headlines. Is there anything else as far as currently?
No, we have some plans, but you never know if those come to fruition, you know. I pitch a lot of things that are I think peculiar. I think that they just kind of go, "What? No, we can't do that," you know. So I'm constantly trying to get something else in there, you know, and I like to dabble with kind of lesser known parts of the universe. And it always ends up happening, just being a nerd and getting this opportunity to write half my books, I'm always dragging in something from you know, some weird little plot hole or weird little thing that only I care about, you know. In Green Lantern, when I had a Millennium reference, I remember somebody going, "What? What? Did you really?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, dude, like that was a big deal for me." Uh, so it's that's super fun to me, and they tend to get I tend to really try to dig deep on a lot of these books and find little corners because they've been going on for so long. And I found the deeper I dig, it kind of helps me generate some new interesting ideas. Like with Green Lantern, I'm really excited about where it's going to go next year because I can't give away too much, but uh, I have a really great hook for what's going to happen. And it's one of those things you're like, I can't believe no one's done this yet. And also, oh, geez, that's a really good idea. And you know, Kyle's going to play a much bigger role in the book, which I'm excited about. And it's going to be great. It's going to be great.
You got a lot going on in the Green Lantern universe. So to catch everybody up, as I understand it, Earth is no the sector 2814, right? Isn't that Al
Yeah.
sector? Well, Earth sector, I suppose. So right now there is something going on politically with OA and Sector 2814, and this might be a little while back.
Yeah,
So maybe
so when the book started, there was a quarantine on Sector 2814 by the United Planets,
right.
which as established in Philip Kennedy Johnson, who I adore, his Superman run. So we took some of those characters and basically it was like, hey, Sector 2814 is a problem child. Let's just push that aside for a bit. And but really that was an opportunity for the powers that be to do their own nefarious, you know, whatever. So Hal was on Earth. At that moment, you know, the power battery had exploded in Jeffrey Thorne's run, and there's a new source battery there. And so in my run, I pick up the ball and we find out that the Guardians placed basically a designated survivor lantern in Earth that was guarded by the Green. And that's where the kind of Millennium play came in. And so Hal eventually figures out how to power up his thing and go into space and go to Oa. And that was the last kind of big story was about United Planets using the source energy and then you getting the Dark Star ring from Philip Kennedy Johnson. There's a big battle, and they shunt them away in another universe where there's some other god, you know, essentially. So then we are left with the Lantern Corps picking up the pieces, and the Guardians are back, but they all are wearing different emotional spectrum smocks, basically. And during that time, with the Source Lantern, because there are no power batteries, the emotional spectrum is just going everywhere. It's chaotic. And so people are manifesting it. And if they don't have the willpower to control that manifestation of energy, they explode. And so we started seeing with Sinestro manifested the red energy randomly. And then Carol's fiance ends up basically manifesting a fractured part of the spectrum and becomes this thing called the sorrow. And he's
Oh,
just full of sorrow. Yeah, he's just full of sorrow, and it's actually painful. And he's just looking for some way to stop it, which leads him into the arms of our DC cosmological Dracula, Starbreaker. And Starbreaker, we find out his whole race was basically put in another dimension by the Guardians, and he feeds off emotion. So he's like, "Hey, I can help you. You help me, I'll help you." and we're going to basically build a power battery that is going to allow us to just have an infinite amount of the emotional energy so that I can like phase shift all my brethren into this universe. And if we do it and the Green Lantern Corps gets wind of this, they're like, holy crap, if they do this, they're going to totally shatter the emotional spectrum and it's going to have unintended consequences. So now they're rushing to stabilize the emotional spectrum. So they're building all the other emotional power batteries on Oa. And that leads up into this Wednesday is the start of the Starbreaker supremacy that Morgan coined it. And so it'll be 6 issues that run between Green Lantern and Green Lantern Corps. And we've been seeding all of this stuff, and it's coming to a head this next issue, issue 25 of Green Lantern, and then it'll run I think through Green Lantern Corps 9. And then from there it'll be kind of a new status quo a little bit with the Green Lantern Corps, which I'm excited about. It's really fun. We've had an incredible Zermanico's amazing, V. Ken Marion's amazing, Fernando's amazing. We've had incredible artists and Rex, amazing people on colors and inks and it's a huge army of people to get it done, especially if you want to go on vacation or go to Comic-Con. You got to get done. You got to get done.
The good news is, man, it's a great story. And I'll come back to Hal and some of his relationships. But while we're talking about the core, so you got Kyle, you got, and I'm going to save the best for last, and I'm so glad you brought this person back. But you got Kyle, you got Connor Kent
Yeah.
with them, you got Superboy. So that's cool. You'll forgive me, the woman that's with them on this.
Yeah, it's a character named Odyssey. That was such a weird. Originally, our plan was to do Connor, Kyle, and Cass, a Wonder Girl, and we were all going for it, and I think I had like Art even coming in, and then they were like, "No, you can't use her," and we're like, "Oh crap!" And so I had to kind of pivot, and my daughter helped me out of it. I was like, "Oh, I kind of want to make this character, and this is what she'll look like, and she'll have this." And my daughter just goes, "Well, she needs to be like a time bandit, Dad. Like she steals from all throughout time, and so she has Excalibur and like one Wonder Girl wristband and or Wonder Woman wristband, and like she has all this accoutrement, and again it goes into my I created a character with Fernando called Gold Beetle, and so it's part of that mythology. It's part of like she's been held in the science cells on Oa. And so it's really fun. And having Connor Kent there has been really fun. So having that little triumvirate in the background of Green Lantern's been fun. And then they find Dan Garrett, which is that was something I kind of had to fight for. And people were like, "Well, why?" And I'm like, "Because I love Blue Beetle. Get off my case." But more than that, I wanted to do something that connected a bunch of different things because they're looking for some nth metal. And if you knew that the artist who created the Silver Scarab based that design on Dan Garrett, and I was like, okay, I mean, you look at the Silver Scarab, it looks like Dan Garrett in a way. And I was like, hey, this is a cool confluence of events because they're experimenting on Dan at a Reach outpost. And the Reach obviously are the ones that have the scarab from that Jaime Reyes uses and was the one that Dan used. But I think in my head, it's cool. It's like the Reach are like, why did what happened to the scarab with this guy back in the day? Well, is he dead? Did we bring him back to life? That's, stories to be told. And they just basically started experimenting on him. And selfishly, I just wanted to see Zermanico draw him, you know? So it's fun to put a new character that, his scarab basically gives him a complete nth metal armor and he has his powers and it's still we're waiting to see what happens when Ted finds out or Jaime finds out or what happens when those scarabs meet or whatever. Like it's just a way to link all of that and then selfishly to put it inside the hands of the cosmic aspect of Green Lantern, and again because in certain continuities the Silver Scarab is the son of the Hawks, and
Right.
so again it's like all of that is me just throwing out Hawk stuff a lot of times to say, hey, there's a lot of stuff to be done there.
Absolutely, and truly, I am a Dan Garrett fan because I appreciate all Golden Age heroes,
Same.
and I had a boy, and I'm very happy that you did this. And I'm like, because really, I'm like, and sometimes I catch up, so I'm reading back issues,
Yeah.
and at first I read the most recent Green Lantern Corps, and then I'm like, who's the guy in the beard? And that's
Yeah. He needs to shave, but yeah.
so I went back to April
Yeah.
when they discovered Dan Garrett.
Yeah.
Is there any sort of rights issue? Because I know that Dan Garrett was a Fox Comics Blue Beetle even before Charlton
Right.
and before Ditko created Ted Cord. So I just appreciate, and my God, I don't know how big it was, but as you likely know, there was a syndicated radio Blue Beetle show that
Right.
was Dan Garrett. So again, I don't know how successful it was, but at least it was out there for a season.
Yeah, and I think the rights must be fine because Jeff Johns in The Lost Children had brought back Sparky, who was the original Blue Beetle's sidekick. And
Okay, because I know half the sidekicks are ones that Jeff created for.
some of them created, but some of them were actual ones. And I was like, what? Because I didn't know that, And but he, maybe but yeah, so I was like, oh, that's rad. That's interesting to me. Now there's a lot of Beatles running around, which is totally cool because I'm a big Ted Cord Blue Beetle. I'm a Ditko Ted Cord Blue Beetle. I enjoyed the Len Wein stuff. I enjoyed him in the JLI, but the Ditko stuff in particular was so massive. I helped on an animated it was like Amazing Spider-Man animated Blue Beetle had a theme song and it's a pastiche of all the Charlton heroes. It's really funny. You can see it on YouTube. Um, you would love it because Jim Krieg, who is my mentor friend, boss, he wanted to do it, and Rick Morales, who I've done like 10 movies with, they were like, let's do it like an old Spider-Man where they're like the cells would jump, the colors would be inverted. It's very silly. The question, and it's great. It's great. The Charlton stuff, there's something about Ditko's art that's so kinetic and so much fun and so simple. And like when he would do Ted Cord, I'm a big sucker for like he would have a schematic of the Beetle. And it's the same with like the Marvel Universe handbook in particular, like Grunwald and all those guys, when they would do a schematic of like Hawkeye's arrows or like like it was just like, oh my gosh, that's the coolest thing ever. I wanted to see what it looked like. I love that stuff.
No, I'm so glad that you're using him, and it opens up a lot of story possibilities.
Yeah.
You get flashbacks of him hanging out with, if not the JSA proper, the All Star.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That's the thing that kills me. I'm like, I remember I did a Flash issue with the Ray and Jay Garrick, and it was all a World War II thing. And the same thing, I always think Dan Garrett must have come across like, I love that. I love all those other characters that maybe sit in the background. And I'm like, I feel like part of my job is to kind of exploit that IP. And that's a crass way of saying I just want to play with the toys. And if I can get somebody to go, oh my gosh, who is this guy? Like I'm even the Crimson of anybody time you have a fin on the top of your head, I'm like all in.
Alex Saviuk, I made him draw me a Crimson Avenger with
Oh,
the, and yeah, I like the original design, sure, but
yeah,
yeah, no, I'm with you, man. And again,
yeah,
thank you, Roy Thomas, for exposing me to all these B and C level characters during All Star Squadron.
yeah,
And I'm like, no, I want more of that. I absolutely want more of that. So I
yeah.
hear you. No, that's wonderful. And I hope you and Lemire are talking, and perhaps we'll see some of your ideas pop up in
That's
JSA.
very nice Canadian. Yeah, no, I need to talk to him more. I don't know if he's at SDCC. I don't think anybody needs my help, but like the way I look at it is if my editors don't stop me, then that's on them. You know what I mean? Like
Wagner used to tell me the same thing with the different Golden Age characters he put in Madame Xanadu. And I'm like,
yeah,
you get permission? He goes, no, I just do it. And, whatever
that's
the
correct.
wherever the chips fall, that's fine
That's correct. That's correct. Yeah.
for you, man. Well, all right, let's get back to Hal. By the way, and I love the start of this new event, and it's going to be
Yeah.
very exciting. But so Hal and Carol, Carol now stars Sapphire, member of the Justice League, and was seeing them kind of flirting or something. I mean, I love that relationship that you got brewing over there.
Yeah, it's funny with the Carol thing is you've had again, DC continuity is such a weirdo thing. You've had her be kind of, the queen of the Zamorans and like be ultra powerful and all this stuff. And and I've kind of explained some of that being the influence of the Predator and the influence of the Avatar and different things. And so this is her chance to kind of stand on her own two legs. We don't really know why her ring works, even with the power battery destroyed, and that's the story for another time. I found myself um, because I have two daughters, I found myself getting really excited about just kind of creating more female characters generally, like Odyssey, Gold Beetle, all those things. But like especially Irie and Maxine, and I didn't create those, but I love writing them and kind of making them bigger in the kind of like continuity and the consciousness of DC fans. And so Star Sapphire, who's a huge character, don't get me wrong, but like we were having a meeting. It was Paul, me, and Mark, and we Mark Wade, and we were just saying like, what if she's the Lantern on the Justice League, and all pushing toward. I don't want her to live as like just the boyfriend of Hal Jordan. Like she could be a top tier female superhero that's just on her own, And in the vein of like Black Canary and Green Arrow, who are, they're in a relationship, they're on and off again, whatever, but they're distinct superheroes. And so her kind of taking that lantern place on the Justice League and contributing and learning how to be a hero rather than just be the queen of this or that. And like it gives her some empathy for what Hal's done. And Hal's Hal, but it's exciting to see her kind of like take her place as like a separate entity than just Hal Jordan's girlfriend or Green Lantern's girlfriend, or even the origins of Star Sapphire being like the kind of jealousy aspect. We have a lot of plans for her in terms of that aspect. Right now, it's everything's great, you know, and I love that. I love writing romances. I love writing with Linda and Wally was some of my favorite things because I'm writing from a place of like I have a great wife that I have no, it's great, so it's hard for me to go, yeah, let's write the dysfunction. I'm like, no, I think that's the thing with a lot of kind of kind of the Silver Age characters, and I touched on it briefly, but like when I was writing Wally, it was so interesting to me that Wally is probably the most well-adjusted superhero in comics, at least when I was writing him, I should say. I don't know what's going on now, but I love that he was a family man, he had kids, and he was a superhero. And even the other Teen Titans are still kind of sort of in relationships and in and out and blah blah blah. And he's got kids. And even his bosses and his, all the people around him, like Barry, they were like, "Oh no, Barry's not married." I was like, "Why? Why? Well, Barry should be, nobody has kids, nobody does anything. They're in this perpetual stasis." And I love the fact that Wally was kind of moving in. And so Green Lantern, Hal and Barry had a conversation about that. And there's an element of at what point do you grow up a little? And I think when you see those legacy characters start to step into their own, like Nightwing and all those guys are starting to step up as like major. They've always been good characters, but there was definitely a concerted effort to make them at the forefront. It has to make these guys have kind of like reflect on what am I doing? Like, should I prioritize my relationship with Carol a little more? And so that's been part of Hal's journey is being like be willing to let go and realize take ownership of some of his own crap. And I think with Carol too, she has to take ownership of some of her crap too. So it's interesting. I love that stuff.
How about Sinestro and where is he? And I love, by the way, his children.
Right, the Sin Sons. So that, yeah, we just had an issue where they went back. He went back to get some pieces of the central power battery, and he finds out because in Tomasi's run they left the Sinsens on Korrigar, and it's all been like revitalized, and these two kids have kind of like fixed it up, and everybody's like, yeah, this is great. We have a better life. So Sinestro, after this big, channeling red energy and fighting United Planets and everything, he's now a Green Lantern again. And you know, how long that lasts, we don't know. He's always had a touch and go relationship with Green Lanterns, but because he kind of helped save the universe, I think there's a little bit of like, and he's always been kind of a weird anti-hero, right? Depending on who's writing him, it's like sometimes he's bad, sometimes he's good. Even in my book, it was like, I just need your ring so I can get back to my people. And then it's like, okay, this is a bigger priority than my people. And now he's a Green Lantern, and then he goes back, and it's all everybody's taken care of by these two kids, which I think is funny. I think Tomasi has this great ability to make, some youthful characters, obviously with the Super Sons and then now the Sin Sons.
No, it's great, man. I really do enjoy it, and we should always guess Sinestro's motivations. It's there. You guys are all almost positioning him like a Black Adam or a Namor, where
Right.
it's like, what day is this? Is he a good guy or a bad guy? In the
Right.
best way. I
Right,
like
right,
that.
right. And I love characters like the Black Adam, especially. Like I like those characters because you can kind of change them and use them to your. And by the way, they always have really good motivations.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's like they're kind of a little more clear-headed about like, well, the rest of the world's terrible, so I'll do what I can to keep my people safe or whatever.
Literally, yeah, absolutely. In both cases, I completely agree with that. That's why Black Adam came to mind. By the way, I'm really glad we are zooming in on your background because when you're speaking, because you got a lot of great toys there, and also, I mean, fantastic Hall of Justice,
Yeah.
all the DVDs you have. But on the upper left corner, where I get, yeah, well, right hand, but no, I guess it is left from my perspective.
Up here?
Yeah. So yeah, tell me about that Justice League picture that's
This
behind.
one?
Exactly that one.
What's so funny is I bought that at a Comic-Con, and it was I don't even know who drew it. And it's so funny because everybody's so grumpy, and there's just a Captain Marvel who's just smiling.
Sure.
And it was indicative to kind of like what I really like. And I am not the grimdark guy, and I really do like and that's one of the things I love about DC Comics is it is very focused on hope and joy and happiness and stuff like that. And it doesn't matter. I mean, if you do that other stuff, awesome. I love reading it. I just can't do it. And so I'm definitely more of a hopeful person. And so what I love about Billy Batson in particular, when he's done to my liking, is like, is the fact that he's a kid and he's in a world of adults, and he's in a world of bad things, but he's still looking at it with kind of an innocence. And so that picture in particular gives me a little bit of a chuckle and joy because that's definitely more of who I am. And I've got I've got different things from a lot of them are tchotchkes and things from different things I've worked on. My favorites
Go to
is
that top shelf and let's see, or however you want to do it, Jared. That's
so
cool.
up here we have Alan Burnett had given me this poster and written some nice things on it. And I had this really cool print of Gotham that was really neat. And it was kind of just a cityscape, but I thought of it, I justified my purchase as saying it's reference material, but like, it's really good. What?
Senator Eduardo Riso, who drew that?
I don't know. I don't know. At the time, it's so funny you're asking me this, but like at the time, this is probably circa 2008 Comic-Con where I wasn't even in comics and I'm just buying stuff I love. This is from Green Lantern Animated Series, my first thing I did for my first on-screen credit for animation and Justice League Action. And then I've got the Sienkiewicz poster for the Batman Soul of the Dragon that I wrote with for Bruce Timm, and I've got my Super Sons movie poster there, and so those are like thrilling tchotchkes. And my favorite thing is I've got a cover of Flash 800 that Mark Waid and Jeff Johns and Josh have all signed with nice words, and so that was really cool too. So, and I've got some original art hidden away somewhere.
I haven't finished framing all my stuff, and it's
Sure.
embarrassing when I still haven't framed because it's beautiful pieces. I hear you, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, my wife relegates it all to this little office. It's like, that's it.
All right, I respect that, and I'm glad she's cool enough to give you a room, so that's
Yes,
good.
yes, yes.
Aquaman.
Yeah,
Wow, lots
yeah.
of interesting stuff happening in Aquaman. My God, also another assembled team around him that I know. I'll at least because I know that the issue isn't out yet, but I did see the August issue and the cover, obviously with the solicit. So this is the Justice League Deep.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're just kind of like tongue in cheek, colloquial saying that. Yeah, it's such an interesting thing writing for something like Aquaman because there is a huge contingent of people that just want the status quo, you know. They wanted aqua politics and saving boats and very passionate about Mira and stuff. And for me, I just wanted to do something different that I could find I could get my hooks in. And the great thing about comics is it's like if you like it, great. If you don't like it, wait a minute. But I'm a huge fantasy nerd. I'm a huge I love Arthurian legend, all sorts of stuff like that. And so as I started writing this very, very fantasy heavy version of Aquaman, I I really want I'm not even joking. Like I think the first three issues, I think he's briefly in water in the first issue, and then I don't think he returns to water several issues in, and I was like, I would love to do the whole run, like and I was just like, my Paul was like, "There's no stop," I'm like, "Okay, fine," but and and you get certain things because after Absolute Power, they said powers are mixed up, so I get a call. They're like, "Hey, can we have Aquaman use Mira's power?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure," that's cool. And so trying to use that in a kind of interesting way that Mira wouldn't have used it in, and more of a blunt force way and just trying to wrap my head around Arthur as a character. And it's been fun because that and Flash Gordon, it's been really fun to kind of do flashbacks to their relationships with their father and like find out them as young people and different things they love. And Aquaman is very much trying to figure out like what happened to Atlantis and what happened to his wife. And there's this creature Dagon, and it's been fun to put in Captain Nemo and the Lady of the Lake, and uh, that's been and Arion, have him back, and then obviously Zan from the Wonder Twins is like a hilarious, and now he's wondering where his sister is, and
Right.
that's going to be a whole other story in another book that so
That's great. No, honestly, it was so great to see Zan back and everything. And I'm glad,
yeah,
I know Bendis when he was running whatever that imprint was called, Wonder Comics,
yeah,
he
the
had
Wonder Twins, yeah.
the Wonder Twins back. So no, that's great. And honestly, is this the first iteration in DC of the Lady of the Lake?
It's funny. I was doing some, and that's all I could see. I looked and I couldn't see anything that was definitive. So it
Well,
was fun to be like, oh, and I tied to like I'm saying like, well, she created Poseidon's trident. She created Excalibur. Like she's the smithy of the gods. So I love that she created a new thing for Arthur because he doesn't have Poseidon's trident at the moment. And all those are threads that I hope to tug on as we keep going on in the series. And it's really, my job, one of the things I love doing is just adding to the toy box. And you don't know what people are going to resonate to, but I really like her. I think I was watching a lot of the show Legend of the Seeker. And there's a lot of like slow motion knives and girls in these cool dresses. I was like, ah, that's so cool. And even with Arion, I grew up again, Ditko, the Doctor Strange. So I love kind of sorcerers and those characters. But this all started falling into some sort of fantasy kind of vibe. And Zan's been a nice, quirky addition that it just seemed, I'm like, well, this makes sense. I remember when I told Paul, I was like, well, this is going to be crazy, man. But like, can we just, like he can turn into water, like there's this cool thing, and Michael McAllister, who's one of the associate editor. He's like, you should do Aquaman's version of the fastball special. I'm like, yes, we should. You know? So right now, yeah, they found Atlantis in the book. Things are not what they thought, and the end of this arc is the next issue, and then we'll move on to what's next. So
So we've seen because again, thank God, thank you, DC, for letting me read ahead a little bit.
yeah,
But we've seen the big surprise that, and in fact, I don't know we did because actually Tim Moore in
yeah.
the chat, everybody, we tried to do a live YouTube. Sound wasn't working. That's why we're doing the Zoom, and you'll forgive
Yeah.
my appearance as one of the Kryptonians that
Guilty. Guilty.
or the Phantom Zone. Yes, guilty. But no, but yeah, he asked about the big shoe that you dropped, and that is Aquaman and Mera have a kid, and she's an adult, and what the hell's going on? I mean, that's great. What's her name again?
Andrina is the girl's name. And yeah, for those that haven't read or that care, they have found Atlantis, but everybody's been there for years. And she's old and older. I mean, she's like normal and Mira is yeah. Uh
Yeah.
yeah. And so yeah, that's that's what's going on there.
So yeah, Arthur doesn't know what the hell happened, and I mean,
No, and
yeah,
he doesn't have time. He doesn't have time. He doesn't have
right.
time to mourn, to think. He doesn't have time for anything because Dagon's there, and there's it's all revolves around this prophecy of the Avatar of the Blue, this dark tide, which obviously has, allusions to other things happening in the DC universe in terms of Omega energy and chaos and so yeah, and it'll be explored more. It'll be explored more during DCKO and what's coming from the genius minds of Scott Snyder and Josh Williamson.
So yeah, DCKO. If people haven't heard, that's a new event that's coming in October. I imagine it will be one of the things covered at San Diego
Yeah,
uh, to talk that up and everything. Another character that is part of Aquaman's crew and heading the Nautilus as well. He should, the great Captain Nemo.
yeah,
And now I realize that League of Extraordinary Gentlemen had Nemo, but
yeah. Something I totally forgot, but that's like a totally different universe. So yeah.
sure, sure. Well, and I was going to ask again, first appearance for Nemo in the DCU, or no? Has it
Yeah.
happened?
Yeah,
Have,
no, it is. I'm pretty sure it is. And that was because I took my kids to Disney Sea in Japan. And I was sitting there and there's this whole 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea thing. And I was like, this is the coolest thing ever, you know? And I love 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. And it was just like, oh my gosh, I gotta figure out how to, it's all public domain stuff. Like, can I put Nemo in here? Would be really neat. And I love the Nautilus, and I love the idea that now they have I'm a sucker for ship anything. Like I watch Sequest DSV. Like if you have a spaceship, like I'm rewatching Farscape again, which I love, and I love spaceship anything, submarine anything. You can just they don't do enough of them as far as I'm concerned. So it's been really fun to have the Nautilus in there and just our characters kind of have a home base as they travel through the blue and I love that he's just firing missiles and doing stuff in the background. But hopefully we get enough runway to kind of explore more stories with each of those characters because I think not just Arion and the lady and Vivian and Nemo, I think they're fascinating characters. And my hope would be to do enough justice that they live on outside of Aquaman's book, that other people can just pick those characters up and use them. And I think especially with Arion, you know, I think that there's a lot of cool sorcerers and magic in the DC universe with Justice League Dark and different things, but I always feel like it's not as maybe well defined as maybe what Marvel does a lot of times. Like I always felt like Doctor Fate was just super powered, even though it's a new Doctor Fate now, but I like you know, the magic books and all that. I like more wizards and more Zatanna, more all that stuff.
No, I'm with you, man. And also, I don't know if you're watching or concerned about being influenced by the new AMC Nautilus show with Nemo.
No, what's funny? I saw that and I thought, oh, is this a foreign show? Like I didn't know, but it looked really good. It looks really. Have you watched it at
Oh
all?
yeah, it's really
Oh, I
good.
can't wait.
It's the guy, and forgive me, everybody, I don't remember. It might be Evan Perez. He was the Klingon in those first two seasons of Star Trek Discovery. He was the
Oh,
CP.
cool.
I like that everyone is doing what should have been done, and Alan Moore did it as well.
Yeah,
Is return Nemo to his
yeah,
Indian roots. It makes more sense
yeah.
for, especially in the 1800s, for
Right,
him to have a problem with
right.
the British Empire being as dominant as it is,
Yeah,
and they lean into that. But again, no, it was great to see in the movie League of Extraordinary Gentlemen and
yeah,
Alan's original story. And yeah, I mean, it's Nemo's an Indian, and he should be an Indian gentleman. I mean,
yeah,
that
yeah. I'm excited. I'm excited. It's been fun to put that in there. And also, listen, Arthur's a little more bloodthirsty. I shouldn't say bloodthirsty, but he's a little more of like, hey, I'm a king. I've
yeah,
got all this power, and it's not, we're not sitting there going like, because Jeff did a great job of saying, "Oh, he's a joke," and then Jeff did a great job, and then Jason Momoa is Aquaman, and it's like, so he's not that much of a joke. It's not something I need to mine. I think the barrier to entry for Aquaman is very high for a lot of reasons. But hopefully this is one of those things I think if people read, they'll go, this is different, and it's not Atlantean politics, and it's not just him saving ships, in the ocean or, falling in love with the dolphin or whatever. Like one of the things I loved about Peter David's run, which is totally, not really continuity, is that Peter did this whole Tarzan riff on it. And the thing that one of the reasons I was such a huge Peter David fan was, is that he took these huge swings, these just unbelievably big swings in every book. And I had started reading the Hulk. It was right after Joe Fixit, and it was just right when the Green Hulk had shown up. And I told him this. I was like, oh my gosh, there's this one joke where they're inside Banner's mind and there's a gold door. And Joe Fixit is trying to keep the Green Hulk out. And he says, hey, look, Lou Ferrigno. And the Green Hulk turns around and he closes the door. And I was like, those meta jokes were so, I was the key audience. And then he went on this whole thing with like merging the Green Hulk and he was the leader of like that group in the mountain. And it was completely bananas. And he's machine guns. And I'm like, Peter David gets away with this stuff. So like in my own way, I try to like throw things in the toolbox and try to take little swings here and there. It's definitely an uphill battle because I think it's always hard when you're working for big companies. I think they're afraid of change, and I'm grateful because they've let me do a lot, but I also think that they won't let me do everything I want to do. So
well, I'm so glad you found that 20,000 Leagues thing in Disney Japan
yeah.
because showing my age, when I was a little kid, it was still 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. That is now the Finding Nemo ride.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. They have the Finding Nemo. Well, they have the Finding Nemo ride at like Anaheim, but in
Oh,
Disney Sea, it's a giant, not it's Volcania. I mean, it's literally a volcano. It's Volcania. Like you go in the volcano, it's Nautilus, and then they also have the Journey to the Center of the Earth ride. And it is awesome. It's all steampunky. And my kids were terrified because they had never even heard of these movies. And so of course we had to watch it and they really enjoyed it. Kirk Douglas is amazing and it's great. It's great. But I love I love it. Again, it's something that when we talk about Dan Garrett and the JSA, it's like, well, Nemo could be running around there sometime too.
absolutely. Well, and also what I've really enjoyed about your run on Aquaman specifically is you're bringing, even though I guess it's fantasy, but it's like when I was a little kid, Jacques Cousteau and the
Yeah.
undersea world of Jacques Cousteau was as fascinating as what the NASA guys were doing with Apollo.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I think there is room for that kind of Aquaman storytelling.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, you're just introducing all these different worlds beyond Atlantis
Yeah.
and everything else that should be part of the water, and the water should be as mysterious as
Yeah.
us. So I
Yeah.
agree.
Well, thank you. Yeah, the whole blue, like he basically is, he will know it's almost, kind of Stargate-ish because I'm also a Stargate wonk, but like he is going to be able to know where that water connects throughout the universe, and I do love all that stuff. Like I love the red, I love the green, I love being able to add the blue to this thing, and there have been versions like the confluence and different things, and I've just tried to succinctly put it all under the umbrella of the blue and just be like, uh, that's what it is.
Oh, that's great. All right, let's stay out in outer space and talk a little Flash Gordon.
Yeah, yeah, okay, yeah. Flash Gordon's been this hilarious like detour that I'm having fun with, and it's not something that like it's at front of mind for a lot of people. But it is definitely me just being able to unwind and do sci-fi serialized stuff. And it's been, it's a lot of punching and getting captured and like fighting a way out and then trying to do interesting things with Zarkov's consciousness being in a robot and him like, stuff like that. And it's also a weird way of when they said I could do it, I didn't want to reboot anything. I just wanted to do a continuation of Flash Gordon Adventures. I'm a big pulp sci-fi guy. I'm a big pulp novel guy. Like Bruce Timm got me hooked on a bunch of like weirdo pulp novels. But before that, I was such a Edgar Rice Burroughs, John Carter of Mars guy. I love John Carter of Mars. And after you get past the John Carter books, which I think are the first three, maybe two or three, and then it's just a bunch of other stories that take place on Barsoom. And so this is in that same way, I'm just like, well, let's just tell other stories. Because if you're a fan of Flash Gordon, you don't need to see the origin again right now. I mean, we get it, or whatever version of it, you get it. He's a square-jawed hero that's out to save the universe, And then like, what can I do with that? And they had, there's a lot of like weird requirements, not weird, but like I get their sensibilities of like, well, we don't want Ming to look like Max von Sydow or whatever, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Kind of original
Yeah,
portrayal as well.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
which can be confused for yellow face, but again, it's an
Yes.
alien.
That's how I look at it. And that's how I look at it. I think one of the funniest notes we got originally, Will had done a picture of Aura and they were like, she's too sexy. And I was like, that's the point. Like, go read the Raymond stuff. Like that's the point, it's the Ginger versus Marianne conundrum for Flash Gordon. That's even in the Dino De Laurentiis movie, it's like oh, this chick's really turning me on, it was just so silly, but I think he did a great job kind of threading that needle. And there's some things that you realize as a writer that these are not my toys. So I'm going to try to tell the best, play with them as best I can, And they've been great. Mad Cape's been great. Mike Mart's been great. Sarah is my editor, and she's been phenomenal. Working with Will's been great. And Tom Derenak stepped in a couple times because Will's been busy, and he's been great. But it's fun to kind of explore this other universe of Flash Gordon and I hope when I step away, I hope it continues. I hope people enjoy it longer than that.
Absolutely. No, I think you guys are killing it. And by the way, everybody, Will Conrad also will be at Terrificon.
Yeah.
So we got the Flash Gordon team
All these
there.
nice foreigners, man. Nice foreigners. It's all good.
Franco's done. Franco did their version of Flash Gordon as well. They'll be there as well. So nice little Flash Gordon contingent over there.
Yeah, totally. And I did a signing with oh my gosh, Flash Gordon himself, Sam Jones,
Oh,
who
that's
I have a ton of energy, but that guy has a ton of energy. Like that guy has a ton of energy, and I have a lot of energy. But it was fun because I wanted to talk to him not just about Flash Gordon, but that he had this show called Highwaymen, And I loved that show growing up. And part of it was filmed in Arizona, which I'm from. And I was like, oh my gosh, Highwayman. And they had that one Australian guy from the Energizer commercial, Buzz. I forget his name, but it was such
Yeah,
a
that's
uh,
right.
like 80s show that like it's like he's a highwayman. Everything was a takeoff of Knight Rider. Once Knight Rider hit, it was like I think Airwolf came out after that. I'm not sure if Airwolf came out before or after.
I'm not sure either. I gotta find episodes on YouTube. You're killing me, man.
Oh, dude, I loved Airwolf. But the funny thing about Airwolf, I love Airwolf, but
Okay.
I'm trying to think if it was a naughty uncle or my dad showed me Blue Thunder prior to that, and I love
Great,
Blue Thunder. Yeah, it's
great.
great.
Oh my
And
God.
and there was kind of this like, which is the better helicopter? But I judged it simply on Airwolf had a better soundtrack, like the better theme song. Like the Airwolf theme song's so rad. And not just Airwolf, but Street Hawk was another one we had. I freaking love Street.
You're killing me. These
All
are
the
the Rob Burnett and I talk about a lot of 70s and 80s shows that didn't make it.
yeah,
And right there, that's a good list right there. They have. I like, and then you being a sci-fi guy and also a Stargate guy,
yeah.
Otherworld. Ever talk about Otherworld?
No.
Okay, I think it only lasted half a season, and shame on me, everybody, because
Yeah.
no, I have not watched Breaking Bad. But the guy who plays Mike on Breaking Bad,
Yeah.
who was also in Wise Guy, and was the FBI handler to Vinny
Yeah.
Terranova, the main character. He is the. It's basically it's this family, and they're in the pyramids. They discover this one pyramid, and they're inside of it, and it has weird hieroglyphics and iconography inside. They walk through a portal, and they're in a different
Love it.
universe,
Love
different
it.
Earth, and it's great. And yeah, the guy from Breaking Bad and Wise Guy is like the main cop that's after them,
Love
and
it.
they have to pose as being part of this weird totalitarian
Yeah.
society. It's great,
Oh,
and
that's
so
that's
yeah,
great.
no, you'd love it. You would absolutely love
I
it.
love stuff like that. Sliders, like I love sliders, like all those type of, I love that stuff. If it's filmed in Canada and it's syndicated, I probably adore it.
Yeah, it's great because when I was doing my last full time radio job, I was doing overnight traffic for the CBS Chicago affiliate, and my producer and I would watch. I don't even know what cable channel it had, but it had Regenesis, Stargate Atlantis, like
Oh my
all
God.
in like a 6 hour block.
Yeah.
And I would tell, and obviously we're paying attention to what's happening on the roads, but not much at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
All right, let's allow groove into some great Canadian science fiction.
Yeah. I freaking love all that stuff. When I was on Supernatural, I'd go up there and a lot of the crew had worked on a lot of that stuff. And I was just like, well, what was what was Amanda Tapping like? Like was Michael Shanks
Absolutely.
cool? And she's awesome, not just because I love Stargate, but she had done that Sanctuary show. And if you
Yes.
remember that the prior to it being picked up by Sci-Fi, it was kind of like one of the first like crowd-funded shows. There was like a digital show, and I loved it. I love that. I think she's brilliant. And yeah, and like I said, I got into Stargate because uh I knew that it was like, I don't know, probably 6 seasons were out. I love the movie. But then somebody said, "Oh, you got to watch this show." And I go, "I'm not going to watch it." And they go, "MacGyver's in it." I go, "Well, I would watch it if they made any sort of MacGyver jokes." And they go, "All the time." I'm like, "I'm in." And I blew through. And Richard
Oh,
Dean Anderson's one of those guys that I'm like, "Oh man, I hope I meet that guy someday because he's awesome."
I'm with you. I'm so with you. Absolutely. Well, and again, back to Flash for a minute, Gordon. What you're doing, we're getting a little. And forgive me because I read the solicits, so I don't know when it started,
Yeah.
but you've got something big coming that is very parallel university. If you haven't
Oh
already,
yeah, for sure. For sure. I'm trying to remember the honest truth is I'm writing so many comics, I don't know what's out half the
I
time.
so understand you. Absolutely, and I don't want to get you in
Yes,
trouble.
there is an element that like Ming is not just the yeah, I'm pretty sure that we've already established that Dale is not our Dale, and that leads some other characters that are not our characters to arrive, and that will put another wrinkle into the story, I think. So,
Oh, I'm excited.
which is fun because you're again with Flash Gordon because I don't have to deal with like DC continuity or like an established like massive continuity, I can kind of go in different places, and that's
I'm,
freeing.
I'm thrilled that King Features is letting you guys, not
Yeah,
only you, but the other Mad Cave guys as well,
yeah,
have so much fun with the concept. Because the quarterly is certainly introducing different takes on Flash as well. And you have
right.
Art and Franco and what they did in the kid book and everything. No, it's great. And really, hats off to Mad Cave. I keep saying this, and I'll have more conversations with more Mad Cave creators. I'm sure Pepos and I will talk Speed Racer and Captain
Yeah,
Planet, but no, it's great, and I love what they're doing. And I'm truly, when you first came out, the last time you came out, we talked about Flash,
yeah,
and again, you're treating Flash like a superhero. And at first, they were like, "Really?" And
yeah,
you're like, yeah, "Annie, of course he's a superhero, of course."
yeah.
So
I,
that's weird.
and like Mike, credit to Mike Martz, he came on. You could see the company really move. Mark London, who runs it, he's the nicest, most wonderful guy, and he's writing his own comics too. And so to have somebody up there that loves comic books that's doing it is awesome. I always there are some people like that, like I always look at Mark Waid like, bro, like. Obviously you've been an editor before. Like you could be an editor again, man. I think he's more like stay away, Satan. Like, he's living his dream right now, and he's killing it. And it's so great to be able to read the history of the DC or Justice League, like Dan Mora at his hip, just drawing 8 billion comics a month.
No, it's true, and it's funny. I had the opportunity to promote what's coming up Friday. I'm talking to Ordway,
Oh,
and among the
cool.
conversation, we will talk about his chapter of the DC universe. And in fact, who did I just talk to? Jurgens is doing volume 3.
Yeah, yeah,
So no, those are great. And like you said, no, everything he's doing in Justice League Unlimited
yeah.
and World's Finest and everything he's doing. No,
Yeah.
I'm happy for Mark. He was.
Also, I love seeing these guys that are geniuses get work. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, well,
it's a weird thing. I'm entering middle age and it's like this thing, even in animation, it's like people don't necessarily want to hire you because of what your age is or whatever. And you're like, but I have this track record of doing really good things, you would think, and so all these guys, they've been great for years. Like J.M. DeMatteis is one of my heroes. That guy has been able to develop a career that's so enviable, and he can still hit him out of the park. And the same thing with Mark Waid, man. Like him coming back into the DC fold is like one of the greatest decisions they've ever made.
no, I'm with you, man. It's a shame. Ageism is the last acceptable discrimination,
Sure.
and
Yeah.
no disrespect to the other people of color and other orientations,
Right.
because I'm not trying to minimize what you're all going through, which is rough. And I say that
Right.
as the oldest Gen X white guy that does a podcast. But that said, yeah, and you're right. It's experience. Hey man, I get it in broadcasting. Believe me,
I'm sure.
be doing word balloon and everything, and doing my own thing,
Yeah.
because I don't have to worry about somebody going, yeah, Grandpa, maybe it's time to sit down. And it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
that was my first time.
The honest truth, though, is too, even as you get older, it's important to. One of the things that's great about having kids is that I get to experience their kind of pop culture again, and
Yeah,
and it does keep things a little more fresh, a little more fresh. I'm not that good at it, but I remember in anime, I wrote something and I had an A team reference. And the person reading it was like, I don't know what this is. It smells of something from the 80s. And so maybe keep that stuff out because no one reading your script is going to know what that is. And I was like, like I totally dated myself. And I was like, okay, I get it. But also, it's an awesome show. And if you don't know who Stephen J. Cannell is, you should look him up.
attaboy. Absolutely. Is it Robbie Thompson that worked on the Winchesters, and you
Yeah,
guys missed each other on Supernatural? Yeah, I
yeah,
was talking to him a couple
yeah.
weeks ago,
Oh,
and
he's such a nice guy.
great guy.
He's a great guy. And in fact, I think my first comic was in the backup for his Future State Suicide Squad. So that's how, and he's obviously a Supernatural alum, and he did Winchesters, and when the WGA was striking, we struck with him a couple times, and I was just kind of picking his brain. He's a very wise and intelligent guy, so I like to hear, the people that have gone before me, and the thing is at Supernatural, so many of those writers have gone on. I mean, they've just done so many things. Like Adam Glass is amazing. And it's funny, my boss, who had been on since season 4 and had become the showrunner on the last since season 13, Andrew Dabb. What people don't know about Andrew is he's a phenomenal writer, number one. I had met him because my cousin introduced me to him. I have this friend in Utah you should meet. When I was a producer's assistant, and he's written these scripts. You should read them. And I'm like, okay. And I read the scripts. I'm like, oh my gosh, these are unbelievable. And I met with Andrew. I was just an assistant. But then Andrew got his start in comic books. He did Ghostbusters, and he did Atomica with Alex Ross, the first version of that, and a couple other things. And so all these guys are great writers, and so many people that come out of Supernatural, just especially the genre loving guys, just go on to do such cool genre stuff.
Yeah, I hear you, man. No, how's everything going for you, animation or film or TV wise?
So I finished up. I was called in by Lego. I obviously I've had a long career with Lego, and they had called me in. I had run a show called Monkey Kid for about 3 seasons, and then I have done a bunch of Jurassic and different things. And so they asked me to come in on a show called Lego Dreams, and so I got a writer's room together, and I did 2 seasons of that show, and it was so much fun because it's much more a kid centric thing, and that was really fun. I do have I can't talk about it, but I do have an animated movie thing coming out. I don't know if it's this fall or spring. I never know. No one tells. And when you're the writer, sometimes you turn it in and you're like, okay, well, I hope it goes the way it goes. But I just did another Lego thing, and it's definitely tighter. It's definitely, I can feel the industry has completely shrunk, and but I love writing so much, and sometimes it's one of those things you can't. If you think about it too much, it can be a little depressing. But all you can do is go, hey, this is what I've done. I am an idea factory, and I work well with others, and hopefully you'll think about me when you have another show. If you need somebody that knows everything about bad television, bing, I'm the guy. But even when I was on Supernatural, I remember I knew I was only going to be able to write 2 episodes by the end, but I had 26 episodes in my head already ready to go, you know? So it's one of those things where I really love coming up with ideas and doing it as much as I can in every form that I can. I think right now there is this element of feeling like that uh like in the live action side or some of the other stuff, it's like they don't necessarily look at me first for those things. So I do find myself gravitating toward doing my own creator own, and I've been threatening that for a long time. And I've been writing dutifully different projects to see which one will get completed first. And but I I talked myself out of it last year. I was writing one, and I totally was like, oh, this will be my first creator own. And then I tell people about it, and it was just like, it was so me in terms of like, it was absolutely stupid, and I loved it. Like, I love it. I love terrible things, and by terrible I mean I love American Ninja 1 through 4. Like, that's so it was like, it was definitely in that tone, and then I freaked out because I saw all these people doing these very high-minded, smart, intellectual, philosophical, and I'm like, I just want to see this kind of nerdy thing. And so I kind of freaked myself out, like, well, Jeremy, you can't do that. No one will want to buy that. And I chickened out. And then as the months went by, I was like, what am I doing? I should just do the thing I want to do. If people show up for it, great. If they don't show up for it, at least you did it. So that's kind of where I'm focusing some of my attention now.
Given the amount of reboots and reimaginings that we're seeing from the studios, is there, and again, I love that you know these like obscure shows like Highwaymen, etc.
Yeah.
Is there an old property that you have tried to or would consider dusting off and going, hey, you guys own this. Maybe this has some more legs, and whatever, or even an established
Right.
brand.
It's
Is
funny. I've tried, and I only get so far as like I had let my manager go. I had a manager for like one brief shining moment. I had never had a representation up until like a couple of years, about 2021. And then I was like, I had a really terrible like Hollywood moment where a deal not just went bad, but it was like bad. And I was like, man, if I had a manager or agent, these things wouldn't happen. And somebody in it was like a Dungeons and Dragons group I was in. I was like, I'm looking for a manager. And they're like, I got a good one. I was like, great, I'll take him. You know, and he was a nice guy, but I don't think they knew how to sell me, and so I didn't do that. So I would come up with things, especially because I was so connected to Warner Brothers. There were a lot of things like I tried to convince some higher ups to do uh, a supernatural thing, like a spin-off thing, but I had a couple of ideas, but one of them was for those familiar with Supernatural, there's Samuel Colt has gun, this magic gun and he's the one who set up all these like demon gates and stuff. And I thought, oh my gosh, I could smell it on the wind. I knew that Westerns were starting to come back in some form,
sure,
whether it was
sure.
Yellowstone or whatever. And I was like, I think you guys should do a prequel series about how that happened. This guy in the West with a magic gun that sets up these demon gates, like that's awesome. And I had this whole story I wanted to do with it. And but there are a bunch of properties, especially at Warner Brothers, that I'm always just like, I would love to do this. I would love to do this. But so much of the game, at least it seems to me, is having the access to do that. There's a couple things they have that I'm just like, oh my gosh, guys, this is a layup. Like this is just such a layup. But I feel like you have to have access to the people that make those decisions, and then you have to have um, either the credibility or the people on your side to package it. I am right now working with a producer on something that is so nerdy and everybody knows what it is, but we'll see if it ever makes, you never know if it will see the light of day, You just kind of put as many irons in the fire and you go, well, I hope it works. I can't tell you in my career in Hollywood how many almost there have been, but there's been a lot, you know?
Well, that seems to be the nature of the game, given my limited experience talking to people like you and others. Guggenheim, King,
Yeah,
so even Shaken back in the '90s.
yeah.
So no, I get it. Well, I should ask you about Superman if you got time. The movie.
You can ask me. I enjoyed it. My kids enjoyed it. My wife enjoyed it. But like I am the most nitpicky, terrible movie watcher that has a glut of opinions about everything. And it would be stupid of me to air them with the guy who's the head of DC Studios. You
Well,
know,
certainly
and
make
I
it.
am such a Richard Donner nut. Like that movie to me still is the best superhero movie that exists, and the best acted, the best shot, and I live for slow. I It's funny that now I live for slower moments. Like there's a scene in the new Superman movie where Superman and Lois are having a conversation, and I was like, I want more of that, so much more of that. And part of the way that film was constructed was like we're just jumping into the situation, like there is no origin story and all that stuff. So to that effect, I understand what they were doing, but I desperately wanted to spend more time with these characters because for me to care about them, I need to care about them, and I think about that a lot because one of the things that in Donner's film was so effective is like, I mean, it's like it's almost an hour before you see Superman. Like it's a long time before you see Superman.
Yes.
But you are totally invested in Clark Kent
Yes.
and totally invested in who he is as a man, as a boy that was raised a certain way. And Pa Kent dying is just the most sad thing in the world. And it all works together in my mind that it so it's hard when Man of Steel happens or anything happens, I just go, like I immediately am just like, but there's a lot to love in this. And I also have the wherewithal to sit there and go, this isn't made for me. You know, it's sort of the George Lucas thing of him going like, here's Phantom Menace. And I remember being so angry about Phantom Menace. And then I had kids and I showed them and they're like, oh, Jar Jar's the best. I was
Yep.
like, what? You know, and you just realize, oh, that wasn't for you. Ah, okay. And yeah, I think Superman's great. I think it's a really fun movie. But I will nitpick the crap out of anything. So which is funny because I feel like there's an algorithm I have in my head between how much a movie costs and how good it is versus like we went and saw Ninja 3 The Domination and I'm like, no notes. This is a perfect movie. Like I love this movie. There's no expectation walking into that movie. You know, and the other thing I realized about something like there is this kind of recency bias that people have. It's you saw it, it's the greatest thing ever in your head. Um, I also know that a lot of movies age well or don't age well. Like movies that I love don't age particularly as well. But like, I'll give you an example. I've seen Wrath of Khan a bazillion times. I love it so much. And I showed my girls Wrath of Khan. 40 minutes in, my oldest daughter looks at me and she goes, I need a little more bang bang, Dad, because this is really slow. And here I am in a middle age with my readers, and this movie hits me so much harder than it ever has in my life. And there's no wasted moment in that movie. Everything is paid off. Everything clicks. And I'm like, this is a perfect movie. This is a freaking perfect movie. And I love it so much. And so, one of the reasons I don't really get into like I don't talk politics online. I don't talk because I want to have enough space to be able to change my mind on things too.
For you. Absolutely.
And as a writer, I really want to fight out my opinions and my ideas anyways, in the page. And I also think like knowing how hard it is for anything to get made, it's an impossibility to get anything made. And the greatest thing about the Superman movie, I think the single greatest thing is that people are talking about, kindness being punk rock in a way. Now, unfortunately, there's a lot of people talking about it that are the worst people, they're the first person to throw stones, but that as a concept is a very Superman concept, and I love that. And the actors are great. Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner. I could watch that all day. Uh, which is hilarious. I'm such a Guy Gardner fan. In my head, Guy Gardner was always Dennis Leary circa like 1994. But it was really fun to
That's
see it.
what he was channeling when he wrote Gardner in that two book prestige thing that he did a couple of years
Oh,
ago.
really?
Talking
Oh,
to
that's funny.
another Guy Gardner writer, Bo Smith, on tomorrow
Oh,
night, and he did Guy Gardner Warrior, of course.
yeah. Another character that has gone through all these iterations. I love that stuff. And James Gunn, if I ever meet him, I have a funny story about Tromeo versus Juliet. I'll have to tell him. But I've followed his career like a lot of these kind of genre guys for years, and I've admired it from afar. So I'm thrilled because it looks like his universe is starting off with a bang and it's doing well. I mean, I have a dog and that dog thing was so exactly like my dog, like just not a particularly well behaved yet lovable pup. And I obviously have a huge affection for Mr. Terrific because I wrote him a great deal in The Flash. And I'm like, no, he's Buckaroo Banzai, man. Like that's how I look at him. Um, which most people don't get that reference either. But kids, go see Buckaroo Banzai. W.D. Richter's a master at these things.
Eddie Granoff, I forget how you say his last name. The guy who plays Mr. Terrific. I thought he was
Oh
terrific.
yeah, yeah, yeah. He was great. He was great.
And of course,
And that's the hard thing of having so many characters. There's a lot of like, I want to spend time with these characters.
well, didn't you think, honestly, and I don't know if we're ever going to see it, but they didn't hire Wendell Davis
Right. Right.
for 30 seconds of
Right.
screen. So
I
there's got to be more Daily Planet
I
stuff.
I feel like there's got to be a lot of cutscenes. Oh, so I'm looking forward to the 4 hour extended version because
Sure.
again, I think about one of my favorite things, and we aped it in a Lego Shazam movie. We did it. We did this whole scene where Perry White's throwing down Lego newspapers on about Captain Marvel, and we couldn't use Captain Marvel, and so he's like, "What is he like? What is it?" And Jim Creek came up with this great joke where he's throwing down, he's like, look at that, what's his name? Look at that chin. It's like made of marble. Maybe he's Captain Marvel. And I was just like, I thought that was the funniest thing. And so that's what's so great about Perry White in the Donner film, right? Is you get a taste of who he is and a taste of who Lois is because she can't spell like how many P's and rapist. Like you're just like, what? But it's so quick and it's off the cuff and it feels lived in. And he's so good. I mean, if you've seen him act in anything, you know how good he is. So you know there's got to be more. I mean, he chomped on that cigar really well, but I feel like there's more to that, you know?
I wanted to see more of Beck Bennett as Steve Lombard and Cat
Yeah,
Grant.
yeah,
Thank God. Listen, dude. I'm old school Jimmy Olsen, going back
yeah,
to
yeah.
the end of the 12th cent era and in Superman Family, Mr. Action. I really wanted someone to say, "Oh, what's Mr. Action going to do?" or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
But it was so
I
great he did as much business as he did in the movie.
I know he really did, and if they are doing like you hear rumblings online, they're going to do Jimmy Olsen. They did that last Jimmy Olsen series was so good, comic series, and he is kind of this weird, almost Doctor Who-ish character. Not Doctor Who, but like he was akin to Rick Jones for me. Like I love Rick Jones in the Marvel universe, and that kind of like every man that gets stuck in these impossible situations is super, super fun. And of course, because Jimmy Olsen's so old in the books, he's so much more innocent in that regard. And I love all that. That's really fun. But I could not root more for the main actor. Like I think he's utterly charming. I really, really, really do. And then the more you see him do press, you're like, oh, he's a super nerd too. Like I love that.
I'm with you. And Nick Holt surprised me as
Oh,
Luther in the best ways. Because I've always liked, I mean, since About a Boy, I've been watching this kid. He's a genius.
he's been in everything. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, all the time.
Great
Mad
beat.
Max, whatever. He's phenomenal. Lex Luthor's another weird thing too because there's been so many iterations and they've all been really good. A lot of them have been really good. I shouldn't say all, but a lot of them are really good. Like Michael Rosenbaum's really good, and
Michael
obviously,
Coleman's in the Lois Superman and Lois show.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
Jesus, I mean, it's like at first I'm like, all right, Red State Luther, and I'm like, no, 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 this is a much more
yeah.
physically intimidating, and also it was a different set of smarts, but he was
Yeah,
calculating people, and it was great.
yeah. I love it. It's so funny that these characters can be moved and changed in so many ways or interpreted in so many ways. And still, obviously, people want to see it, which is exciting because it makes me really curious about what that Batman's going to be, what that Wonder Woman's going to be, what are those other characters that are going to show up, and as you get farther afield, it did feel like All-Star Superman a great deal, like that kind of quirkiness to some of the Golden Age Superman stuff, which I love. Like I've been slightly addicted to online auctions for comic books, especially through Hip Comic, and now I'm starting to just like buy specifically Golden Age covers of
Wow.
the Batman Golden Age covers and the Superman Golden Age covers are like the best, wackiest, weirdest. Like you have to pick this book up because it's so bananas. Like the cover's so crazy. You're like, Lois married a monkey on Mars. You're like, what is happening?
I hear you, man. No, again, I was reading those reprints as a kid, and yeah, and also I caught that Julie Schwartz era of Superman from the 70s till the mid
Yeah.
80s.
Yep.
No, it's again, and that's interesting. And honestly, it is a bit of relief for me how much I do love this new Superman movie because I agree it is geared for younger times.
Right.
Every era, it is meant to be Superman of the moment. Donner
Yeah.
was one.
Yep.
Snyder's movie was like that,
Yep.
and even Bryan Singer's movie was like that too. Batman.
Yeah.
See all those
Yeah.
kind of callbacks to Donner,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
had its modern thoughts and everything. And I no, again, I like this, and I am glad that things were as successful as they were, introducing as much of the DCU that he did, Metamorpho, the Justice Game,
Yeah.
and it all worked. Because I was worried about kind of in that same way that Batman v Superman didn't work. Which
Yeah.
like, are you trying to shoehorn in a lot? Just take your time.
Yeah. I'm really curious if they're gonna ever like talk about, like Peacemaker's in it. He's kind of the weird linchpin between the Snyderverse and this one, right? Because he was in Suicide Squad that had Harley, that was all like that's all that universe. So I'm like, is there any conversation about like how these are connected? Because they're not, but they are, but that's also kind of the messy way that DC Universe is in comics anyways. Right? Where you're just kind of like, well, this is what it is now, and you just kind of ignore.
It's kind of like Judi Dench, how she straddled both, and I don't mean that in a physical way.
Yeah.
Chris and Daniel Craig, and I
Yes.
still
Yes.
so no, we'll
Yeah.
see.
Yeah.
But also, I'm glad that there are as many TV things because perhaps while we're waiting for whenever the next Superman movie is, and I know we got Supergirl next year,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's the thing. It's like, oh, is it going to be 5 years before we see Superman 2? I don't know.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I want it all now. That's the thing. We live in such I want to see it all now. I want to see Flash. I want to see, I want to see TV series. I want to see it all. And that we are so spoiled. Like it's unbelievable how spoiled we are. Could you imagine the 80s and 90s like talking about, the complete, glut of superhero stuff that we have now? Like it's crazy. It's crazy.
I saw someone on Facebook was putting up the late 70s. Yeah, it was late 70s. The two NBC specials, Challenge of the
Yes,
Superheroes, the other one. And it's like, we love that because that's all we have.
that's
We love
all
those.
you got.
Yeah, those Marvel 70s, Reb Brown as Captain America and Doctor
Yep.
Strange.
Yeah, the
And
Doctor Strange, this all the Spider-Man stuff. Yeah, I remember when the Albert Pyun Captain America movie came out, and I was like, I will like this even if it's not good. Like, like it's just that's just the way it was. And when Batman 89 came out, that was such a sea change for me as like it hit me right like correctly. And then it was like, the other ones were what they were. And then Spider-Man, well, Spider-Man, Blade happened. But if you weren't in the know, you just thought it was a vampire movie. And like that was huge for me. But X-Men and Spider-Man, like, that blew up everything. And it was like, oh, here's a box office successful, and then Iron Man again. Like, so you get so many iterations, and then Iron Man does MCU. I love it. But then think about it, like the CW when it was in existence was so great because I'm friends with Guggenheim, but like he couldn't know we were getting every version of all this stuff. I mean, the fact that he had the audacity, the crisis event, and they had Kevin Conroy in it. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy. And it was
absolutely.
so much inside baseball in those things. And it's crazy. But it's again, we are so spoiled.
No, literally, I started because I don't know why I drifted away from Legends of Tomorrow, but I did. Probably
Yeah,
because there was just so much happening all at once.
right, right.
Now I'm going back and watching it on Netflix, and I'm in the second season, and I'm like, I forgot how much fun this show was.
Yeah, yeah. They shot next to Supernatural, and my friend Ray was a writer on it, and I was up there, and he was up there, and I was like, he's like, come over. There was like a hole in the fence, and I like, snuck over, and I have and John, to tell you again, my love of spaceship shows knows no bound. They had the coolest spaceship set. It was just a straight up spaceship. In my head, it was like, this is exactly every day Lucas came and there was a life-size Millennium Falcon. Like, I would never leave. Like, you could go down the hallway, and I was just like, he took a picture of me in the, and I'm like, this is just sitting here. This is sitting here. It's crazy. It's crazy how cool it was. I love that stuff. I mean, if they would have ever like Battlestar Galactica, all that stuff. When I see that stuff, I'm like, they made those giants. It's just. I remember being on the Star Trek Experience in Vegas, and I remember just thinking like, this is insane. I'm running down the corridors of the Star Trek Enterprise. This is insane. I love
I
that
did
stuff.
the same thing, and I always make sure I was at the end of the
Yes,
line
yes,
so that I could spend the most time on the bridge of the D as
totally.
possible. So I
Totally
did.
lingering, just being like, but it was so good because in my memory, I'm like, the hallway curved. And so you're just like, "Oh, this is crazy. Like, I feel like I'm on the ship. And you know that they were going to make a full one-for-one replica of the star in Vegas. They should
Yes,
still do it.
I agree. Have you been? I haven't been to New York Ticonderoga yet for the
No,
original series Enterprise sets.
no, I heard it's great. I'm trying to think who did that. John Semper Jr. might have done that, or somebody did that. And they said it
James
was really
Cawley.
great.
I know James Cawley, who made the fan film show Star
Wow.
Trek Continues. It was his. I know he's one of the big linchpins of that. So
Wow.
yeah, and I hear they're making one of the D of the Enterprise D as well
Wow.
down there.
I know that here in LA, they did this thing called Fan Fest at Universal, and I know part of it was going into, I think one of the stages, and you could go on the deck of one of them, and I was like, man, you don't understand that, like, you can just put that up somewhere, and people would just spend money just to go through it,
Yeah, I
It's
hear you.
it's like the Warner Brothers tour. You get to spend time going in front of the Friends water fountain, and people are spending gobs of time taking pictures of, or in the cafe. And I just love it. I love it.
With you, dude. I'm absolutely with you. Well, I'll let you go because we've
Yeah,
done good.
sorry. I tend to gab.
No, no, come on, Jerry. You know the show.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah,
great.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, and honestly, it means a lot that you're coming back and everything. And I
Yes.
think because really, I enjoy talking to you. You've had a great career. You continue
Thank
to
you.
have a great
Thank you.
and you're hitting all these great places at crucial times when I do think there are sea changes going on in animation and live action, and certainly in comics. And then you bring great ideas, dude. So keep it up. Love
Thank
what you do.
you.
And yeah, more power to you, dude. As always.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you always being a champion for comic books and creators and stuff. It's always incredible. So thank you.
Thanks everybody for watching. We're great word balloon this week. I kind of really. Oh, Joe, real fast. We should mention what you're doing in San Diego. So what
Oh,
panels are you
yeah.
doing?
So I have a signing at Mad Cave on Friday. I have a panel for DC at I think it's like 11:30 on Thursday and another one at 11:30 on Saturday, I believe. So we're not just going to be talking about DCKO, but we're going to be talking about at the Metropolis one, especially talking about Green Lantern, what's happening with that, and Aquaman, and what's going to be going on with the uh lanterns. And if you find me, I'll sign whatever you got. I don't got a booth there this year, so find me. Bring a Sharpie.
There you go. And yeah, I'm counter programming with the exception of talking to Jeremy tonight on Word Balloon.
Yeah.
Keith Williams, fantastic inker
Amazing.
for Marvel and DC. Talking to him tomorrow afternoon. Bo Smith tomorrow night.
Wow.
Uh, Jerry Ordway's already set for Friday. So we'll talk
Amazing.
about the FF movie and Superman and other things. And it hasn't. I haven't nailed them down yet, but Al Milgrom will be coming on
Oh,
at some. Not this week,
great.
definitely. So lots of great people coming up on Word Balloon Live. Hope you'll join us then. Until next time, everybody, stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy.